We are here post WrestlePalooza with Chaz Kangas from 95.3. Mr. Sunday Night. Do you do the thumb things?
The thumb things? The Van Damme. Oh,
Do you
man.
have a pose or
If only. Yeah, no, I normally just jacking the Too Sweet.
I love that.
As it should be. You know, this is actually, it's the Too Sweet. It's sign language for llama. And when you do the Too Sweet gesture, this is actual American Sign Language for llamas kissing. Because when llamas kiss, it's too sweet. I don't think that's the exact thing. I'm sure they probably saw someone do it in Europe and pull it off. So, but yeah, it's just keeping the tradition on. So I did this with Amine when he came visit. I got him to Too Sweet me, and he's like, you throwing up a gang sign? And then I taught him about it. So it's a pretty nice moment. So.
Kind of break through with some of the artists with the throwing up the Too Sweet. They know what that is.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
like
the ones who know, and then the ones who don't are always really happy to learn llama and sign languages. And I think like being longtime fans, we all have like that one match or two that we show to people that's like here, if you're gonna ever like this is what you could like, because it's kind of become one of those things where there's an essay called The Grand Canyon Effect, how when you know about the Grand Canyon, you read about it in school, you have this idea of the Grand Canyon in your mind, and then eventually when you see the Grand Canyon for the first time, it competes in your mind, and it could be a whole new thing. It's just, immediate setup against it. So I think wrestling in a lot of ways, whether it's being, parody media, whether someone has this tangential knowledge, but then, you show them something amazing, whether, you're introducing them through a WWF, WWE ladder match, or whether you're showing them, something strong style from New Japan, or something completely, off the wall from like a DDT or Shikara, or through women's wrestling, whether it's like Ice Ribbon. There's a lot of really cool, really different stuff out there, and I think there's a flavor for everyone, and it's cool to help sort of bridge that gap.
Well, and what brings you here to WrestlePalooza tonight?
Just the absolute best in Minnesota wrestling. Eric Cannon always throws a top-to-bottom fantastic show. Colt Cabana's the homie. Colt Cabana was actually on my 2014 record, the Rex Manning Day EP. Available now wherever music is purchased, streamed, or stolen. And he's just always been like a great, genuine stand-up dude. He's really cool. And there's so much great talent. David Arquette tonight, the great Sasuke tonight. It's always like kind of the end of the whole holiday season. You have Christmas, you have New Year's, you have Wrestle Kingdom, you have WrestlePalooza, and then as we're recording this tomorrow was Russian Christmas. So it's really jingle all the way. And then Tuesday I take down the decorations.
Wonderful, wonderful. And how did you first learn about wrestling here?
I was living in New York at the time. I was doing some writing for a few different publications around the country. Because I was such a hip-hop guy, I was still following the hip-hop scene in L.A. So I was writing for L.A. Weekly. I was also writing for Complex, Village Voice, and New York Times out there in New York. And I was also writing a bit for City Pages out here because I love the Minneapolis hip-hop scene. And then I was looking at the First Avenue concert calendar in January 2013, which may have been the very first one. Reached out to Eric Cannon, pitched it to my editor as saying, this wrestling event's happening at First Avenue, the local music tie-in, as well as the fact that Eric Cannon was on MTV's Wrestling Society X. There's an other music element to it. He went for the pitch, and then City Pages liked the article so much they had someone locally here come and shoot the first one and do a review of the first one. Great review, as one could imagine. And since moving back here in 2016, I've only missed one since being back, and that's because I had a battle in New York. But otherwise, I go to every single one. The shows are always tremendous. Eric does a great job.
Amazing, amazing. And what other history do you have in writing pro wrestling or kind of pro wrestling journalism, or what's your experience? It's
interesting because wrestling and battle rap are like the two passions of mine that I really, really enjoy. That for the other places I write for, I've always felt if I don't want to say I'm an ambassador for it, but I've always wanted to know that people reading it who've maybe never watched wrestling in their life, who've maybe never seen a rap battle in their life, and try to convey it in a way that they can get what it is I love about it, what I think they could love about it, and maybe meet that on a medium. Because I think a lot of times with different media, and people just assume I love this thing, and they can sort of hit the audience that it's for, and that's awesome. But for me, I kind of having a platform like something like the Village Voice or like the New York Times, and really knowing, I can take this little thing that I love and get it in front of more eyes and ears. So really getting the opportunity to do that, like when I was writing for the Village Voice, I did an article that did really well during the first New Japan Ring of Honor show in May of 2014, the first one in New York, that is, and the War of the Worlds, where it did understanding New Japan wrestling through hip hop, where it sort of made connections how Nakamura's Danny Brown. What else did I have on there one time? E40 is Jushin Liger. And just
still
things like
available?
that. Yeah, it should be around online. I'll send you the link to it, and then you can copy and paste it on your site and get the hit money from it, because Village Voice is dead. You should be getting that ad money.
Beautiful.
It's over. That's not me being disrespectful to it. It's the publication has ceased to be. Even though they asked me to write my top 10 albums of the year for their Paz and Jop, so I don't know how they're managing to do it post dead. But hey, zombies are in now, so yeah. Yeah, but no, like it is cool being getting in wrestling involved, like in the other media stuff that I work with, because I think everyone at some point in their life goes through whether it's the phase or whether they knew someone who did, and that sort of that inner connection to wrestling and getting to tap into that, and hearing people that I went to my first show from something I've written or something that I've suggested, and it's cool to know that in that way, that to really help bridge that out, and I think like being longtime fans, we all have like that one match or two that we show to people that's like here, if you're gonna ever like this is what you could like, because it's kind of become one of those things where there's an essay called The Grand Canyon Effect, how when you know about the Grand Canyon, you read about it in school, you have this idea of the Grand Canyon in your mind, and then eventually when you see the Grand Canyon for the first time, it competes in your mind, and it could be a whole new thing. It's just immediate setup against it. So I think wrestling in a lot of ways, whether it's being parody media, whether someone has this tangential knowledge, but then you show them something amazing, whether you're introducing them through a WWF WWE ladder match, or whether you're showing them something strong style from New Japan, or something completely off the wall from like a DDT or Shikara, or through women's wrestling, whether it's like Ice Ribbon. There's a lot of really cool, really different stuff out there, and I think there's a flavor for everyone, and it's cool to help sort of bridge that gap.
I like how you brought up all the different styles there. There's so much different stuff to get into, and much respect to you that you're able to bring out your passions and your heart through what you do professionally, journalism, and your show Sunday night. As a hip hop fan, this guy knows his stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's another thing too, being able to like bring sort of wrestling into that sort of hip hop realm, because a lot of rappers over the years that make the wrestling reference have been wrestling fans, probably more now than ever, with thanks to Action Bronson being such an unabashed massive fan for it, Wale being a huge fan of it. And so now seeing so many events happen, it's just ways to have it. And then on my show, 10 to midnight Central Time on Go 95.3, I've had Chris Jericho on the show. He's been awesome. I've had Jimmy Jacobs on the show. I've had Ethan Page on the show.
Great talents.
Yeah, absolute talents, and they're all just like the best dudes too. And it's cool to sort of combine those things, and then it also like from that show being able to say, hey, I'm on a hip hop station. It's allowed different wrestlers to when you can connect on that level. Someone like Cassius Ohno, Chris Hero, when he was in town for NXT, I reached out being like, hey, do you want to be on my show? And we couldn't work that up, but we still met up after the show, and just being able to talk hip hop with someone, especially the beauty of being a wrestler and traveling around the country and being a hip hop fan, because I've always viewed hip hop as a regional music, because there's so many different styles and so many family trees you can trace. Like obviously West Coast hip hop doesn't sound like East Coast hip hop, but even in the minutia of that, how North Dakota hip hop doesn't sound like South Dakota hip hop, Dallas hip hop doesn't sound like Houston hip hop, just the small levels of that, and being able to find those family trees. So I'm sure the coolest part outside of performing in front of people, getting that reaction, is if I was a wrestler, I'd be hitting up the different indie record stores every place I'd go to. So, I'm sure the many fun things in life, but the battle rap life, allowed me to do that as well during my time in the East Coast circuits. So, yeah, it's a big, beautiful world out there. Yeah, the whole world is beautiful, every single part of it. It's got its own, some more beautiful than others, but it's in the eye of the beholder. But I'm sure there's something great absolutely everywhere.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of the indie hip hop kind of connection with the indie wrestling has kind of got that same feel, like that do-it-yourself type mentality, and just a beautiful thing out here. You headed to WrestleMania this weekend? You headed to WrestleMania this year?
We had a long holiday this year, 6 weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas, dude. If it wasn't Sunday night, I wouldn't know what day of the week it was, because then I'd be wrong, because I think it was Sunday.
It is Sunday night. What is?
Sunday.
Oh my goodness.
Sunday. Oh, cool. I'm buying a lottery.
What time is it right now?
Oh yeah, it's. I'm on the air while I'm doing.
Are you late right now?
No, I'm on live now. I'm able to be here and there at the same time.
Beautiful.
It's just going to be punctual for shouts out to Go 95.3.
For next level stuff with this guy.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm trying to, it's because I have all my Ico Pro, Icon Pro. Yeah, so I might be going out there this year. So it'd be cool if you know, I went to 29 and getting to see like that whole thing. And that was another thing too. I got to do a piece for the Village Voice interviewing Jim Johnston, who's composed so many of the amazing wrestling things over the years, and that was a wonderful thing to talk to. He's a really cool dude. So
nice opportunities. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time here. What is maybe your favorite? Some of your favorite memories from here, First Ave, or just wrestling in general?
You know, First Ave, just being fortunate to come of age, like at the time when the Minneapolis hip hop was booming internationally, internationally, I guess that counts. And being able to see like Idea and Abilities and Atmosphere and Brother Ali and so many great artists, like, you know, watching that rise happen was so cool. And on top of that, just because, you know, so many artists like in the indie cycle would then come and play 7th Street, getting to see Camu Teo, rest in peace, getting to see Murs, Mr. Liff, Lewis Logic, so many great things that happen. So it's always fun. And then getting to see, getting to meet Scott Hall here and getting to talk to him for 5 minutes about the Fugees, because late in his WCW run on the house shows, they'd come out to Ready or Not. And I asked him, because I've always wanted, you know, it's one of those things where in interviews people aren't really asking him, so let's talk hip hop, Mr. Hall. So I was like, by the way, before we finish doing this photo, Mr. Hall, was wondering, you know, some of the house shows, why'd you come out to Ready or Not by the Fugees? And he said, hey man, well, you know, at that point in the house shows, half the wrestlers, half the matches were NWO, and you hear the same music all the time. That, you know, late in the night, music comes out, you don't know who it is, and then you see it's us, and it's different. Plus, it's just good music. So so it was cool, you know, to talk to that. And then another first wrestling show at Mill City Nights, you got to talk to New Jack about No Limit Records, because he used to come out in the Master P shirts. So further combining the wrestling and hip hop worlds.
Some legends, man. It was great to see Scott Hall get himself together, get in great shape and everything. But all right, Chaz, thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Much respect, man.
Much respect to you.
This guy is like way better at this than I am. But
I don't know.
thank
I'm
you
trying
for
to keep up
spending your
with
time.
you, man. No, thanks for having me. It's been really fun to be on, man. And congrats on everything you're doing as well, man. Looking forward to seeing it continue to grow.
All right, cool. Thank you. We're here post WrestlePalooza.
Oh shit!
Hello, this is John Fredrickson. We are outside here in Minnesota post Midwest Wrestling's Elite with one of the pro wrestlers, Stonehenge. How are you doing tonight, Stonehenge?
One of the pro wrestlers. Thank you for that brilliant intro.
Date you traveling out for?
Yeah, I got some big things coming up with ICW, Insane Championship Wrestling. That's based out of Milwaukee at La Pica Lounge. And that's where Oren Veit took his career to the next level by doing his death match, doing all that stuff. So they're getting crazy with the Cheese Whiz out there, busting light tubes on everybody's head.
Hello, this is John Fredrickson with State of Pro Wrestling. We are here post Midwest Wrestling Elite here in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, at a very unique venue, a very unique individual sitting next to me, downtown Petey Brown, everyone.
Hello everyone, it's me, Michael. I just want to let you guys know, check out my YouTube channel, MK Just Mike, where I post some of the matches that I record from wrestling shows, as well as doing interviews with wrestlers. It's called Michael's Corner. So be sure to check out my YouTube channel, MK Just Mike.